a product lead in a company called Cloudlytics, and he will talk about incident detection, continuous monitoring, and keeping compliance in AWS. Before we start, don't forget that if you have any question for Abhijeet, you can leave it in the comment on the YouTube live, and Abhijeet will pick it up later. Abhijeet, I will pass it to you. Good luck. You need to unmute yourself first. Abhijeet, can you unmute yourself? Yeah.
Done. Thanks a lot, Mo.
Okay.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about how we can monitor and secure a public cloud environment. So we'll just first talk about we'll just discuss about the agenda. So we'll be discussing about how public cloud have become necessity and moved from buzzword to the necessity. Then we'll be discussing about why cloud security is different than that of the traditional security. We'll discuss about public cloud security snapshot and emerging challenges. Then we'll discuss about how we can strategize to secure the public cloud environment. Then handling incidents if we get any onto the public cloud, and then we'll be just have a look into the product that I lead, Cloudlytics. And then at the end of the session, we'll be answering all the questions that you will be having. So let's just quickly start with how public cloud have become necessity from the buzzword. Public cloud industry is now have reached to $200 billion in this year, and 70% of all tech spending of the IT industry or across the industry by 2020 is for the public cloud. Then 80% of the organizations will be migrating to the cloud by 2025. So regardless of in which domain they work in, whether it's healthcare, whether it's pharma, or whether it's tech industry, 80% of the organizations will be migrating to the cloud by 2025. Then public cloud adoption grew to 92%. Than that of the traditional data center kind of thing. Now infrastructure as a service, IaaS, will be reaching to $72.4 billion by 2020, end of 2020. And 50% of the serverless market share is extended to the cloud services. So now we can see applications or entire applications which are running onto the serverless, where no server is there into their architecture. Everything is serverless. So that's evolving. Then 84% of the enterprises run multi-cloud strategy. So enterprises are now leveraging multi clouds to deploy their environment, to host their services, and serve their customers through their applications. Now we'll talk more about why cloud security is different than that of the traditional security. So there are 4 major points. When cloud comes into the picture, then perimeters gets dissolved. So dissolving perimeters is one part. Then the second part is everything is now in software. So ordering a food, ordering a cab, getting household help, everything is now become just a matter of click. So now everything is becoming now a software, and all the new age applications and new age solutions which are coming into the market are leveraging the agility and the speed of public cloud environment. Then sophisticated threat landscape. So now since the adoption grew to from the startups to the enterprises, everyone is leveraging public cloud. So and everything is on the internet, so you can just a few clicks and your server is up and running to host the application. So with this agility and the speed, and with this simplicity of the public cloud environment will opens up the threat landscape as well. So shifting areas of responsibilities. So in the traditional environment, there used to be a IT team which just takes care of the infrastructure, and now it becomes the responsibility of the infrastructure and the control of the infrastructure have now come down to all the layers, from solution architect to the developer. Now everyone can have direct access to the cloud resources over the cloud environment. So we'll now take a look into the public cloud security snapshot. So how it is evolving, how threats are evolving, and all. So over 50% missing cloud compliance monitoring for cloud applications. So now applications are being hosted onto the public cloud, and everyone is using the benefits of the public cloud. IaaS, if it comes to the infrastructure as a service or software as a service, everyone is leveraging services provided by the CSPs. But when it comes to the security, somewhere that is sidelined, and that's why over 50% of the applications or organizations are missing in terms of implementing best practices, implementing security, and continuous monitoring of their cloud applications. And that's why the landscape of the threat is getting broader and broader these days. So when we talk about on average, account compromised, so at least one account is getting compromised per month in 80% of the organizations. Now, when it comes to AWS, so people or organizations have a strategy where they use multi-cloud plus multi-account strategies, where their environments will be separated in separate AWS accounts. So 80% of the organizations, at least one account gets compromised by some of the other way, where their certain type of environment or applications are running. So 28% year-on-year increase in the threat events from 2019 over 2018, and if we talk about 2020, it have grown exponentially. So this increase of the threat events onto the cloud platform is very alarming. So yes, it gives us speed and it gives us freedom, but it also, that freedom comes along with the responsibilities that needs to be taken care of. So when we talk about S3 bucket on top of the AWS, where it is used to store all the data, which will be the intermediate data or maybe organizational data, will be stored on the S3 bucket. So 5.5% of the AWS S3 buckets are publicly accessible. That's very alarming, where when it becomes publicly accessible, so anyone can access whatever files, whatever data which is stored into that S3 bucket. So that's very alarming. Then 21% of the cloud data is sensitive. So whether the data which is stored onto the databases hosted on the cloud or on the managed services or onto the services like S3, so 21% of the data is sensitive, and that is a rise of 17% during 2020. So it becomes very important to secure and to put a proper security on top of access control mechanism and all other stuffs on top of this data. So on an average, 3.2 billion cloud events are getting generated per month. So from multiple services, if we talk about infrastructure as a service or software as a service, so there are almost on an average 3.2 billion cloud events which are getting generated per month. So if we talk about all these events, so out of that, 3,220 are the anomalous events, and 32 out of all these events are actual threats. So when we look at the number, out of 3.2 billion events generated per month, 32 are the actual threats. So to process or to capture these threats becomes very important. So there should be a strategy to handle all these things, and we'll talk about this in the coming slides. So 1935 unique cloud services used by enterprises, which is a 15% increase over 2019. So we can see year on year, AWS is coming up with the new services, and to help the enterprises, to help the organizations, to simplify their applications, or to simplify the tasks that they are which are complex, where some managed services comes into the picture. So the usage of the unique cloud services is increasing year on year, and in 2020 it's over 50% increase over that of the 2019. So we'll talk more about the emerging challenges when it comes to the cloud security. So we'll just go through the challenges one by one. So when we talk about the first challenge is visibility into cloud data. So now, if you consider AWS account, it consists of multiple regions and multiple services. So this so whole bunch of services, if there are multiple members who have, or multiple applications which are hosted on a particular AWS account, then there'll be multiple services being used, multiple assets will be there across the regions. It becomes very critical and important to have a visibility or track into each and every resource which is hosted onto the public cloud environment. Many of the time it happens like that. Some of the R&D account is there with some organization. I have seen this with some of the customers that I have worked with, where they have R&D account, and they did R&D in let's say a region where their primary workloads are not hosted. They did that R&D, and while doing R&D, engineers tend to open things, just to do the R&D. They tend to open things publicly, like S3 buckets are exposed publicly. If we talk about security groups, they are exposed to the world. So when these things comes into the picture, so one tiny little misconfiguration can lead to entire loss of the account. So that's why visibility into the cloud environment and the cloud data is important. When we talk about control over cloud data, so there may be sensitive files, sensitive information stored onto the S3 buckets or to the databases. So there should be a so most of the organizations, if they don't have that expertise with them, so whenever if they want to give access to the S3, then they just give full access to the S3, and that's alarming, because when someone gets full access to the S3, then entire S3 across that account will be accessible by that entity. And so whether it is a role to the third party or it's a simple user, and if that user have access keys and secret keys, so that becomes more and more risky. So that should be controlled when it comes to the having control over the cloud data. Then access to the cloud data and applications. So again, as we have discussed, with the cloud platform, if we talk specifically about the AWS, so when we talk about that, then access is shared via identity and access management. So when access is being shared, it can be shared via IAM user. A new user can be created, or it can be as simple as IAM role. Access to the cloud data and applications is continuously monitored. Many of the time, what happens whenever if let's say some developer wants to is coming and working on a certain project for XYZ corporation, and then let's say that developer needs full access to the S3, because that developer wanted to do some development work where full access is required just to test things up, and that access is just required, let's say, for a month's time. But once the access is granted to that particular resource, then that is not in most of the organizations, that is not audited on continuous basis. So what happens, that person will be having access to the S3 bucket, full access to the S3 service for a longer duration than that of it is required. So continuous audit for this is always required. When we talk about compliance, in multiple domains, there are multiple regulators which have their guidelines how to use a public cloud environment. So when we talk about compliance, then it becomes important to adhere to the guidelines given by the regulators. So it also becomes important whatever resources which are already there onto the cloud environment, or onto the AWS environment, should adhere to the to those guidelines, as well as whatever new changes or new resources coming into that environment should also adhere to those guidelines. If the new resources or new changes which are being done on the cloud environment, if those are not adhering, then alerts or some sort of notification mechanism should be there. So that can be done by using third party solutions, or can be AWS native services can be used to handle all these things. We are going to look about how we can handle all these things in the upcoming slides. So, cloud native breaches. Now, when we talk about the breaches, then there are certain set of breaches which are very cloud native. So, cloud gives. So, if we talk about AWS, most common type of breaches we see is account is getting hijacked. When account gets hijacked, then whoever gets the hacker who gets access to that cloud account, who will be having access to whatever assets which are there into that account, plus that person or that entity will be having access to spin up more and more resources. So most common use cases that we can see that for mining, for Bitcoin mining, account is compromised and they are spinning up heavy load of instances just to do a Bitcoin mining and all. So these are kind of a cloud native breaches, needs to be monitored, needs to be a process needs to be defined around that. When we talk about misconfigurations, so due to lack of knowledge, or some configurations can just be missed. So like while creating a security group, maybe access or port, a particular port is open to the world, that can happen. Or else if we talk about S3 bucket, while creating a bucket, that can be exposed publicly. If we talk about RDS, if that is launched in a public subnet, that means it have a risk to get exposed to the internet. And similar sort of threats can come along with the misconfigurations. So when we talk about disaster recovery, so disaster recovery needs to be planned. If a particular account get compromised, then what are the strategies to recover from that attack or recover from that kind of a loss? When we talk about insider threats, so insider threats, like if let's say some credentials of some user, if those gets leaked, then how to handle those kind of situations. So right access to be given, bare minimum access to be given to the entities who will be involved into accessing the AWS environment. So those things also needs to be strategized. Then lack of cloud security architecture and strategy, that is the major challenge in most of the startups and the SMEs that I personally have observed, where they are building a good, highly available and highly scalable architecture, but somewhere security, which is important factor that they supposed to consider, but they do not consider that into their architecture as well as strategizing their entire application. Then we discussed about account hijacking, and then limited cloud usage visibility. So who is using what, and which user having access to what kind of services, and if that person does not have access to that services, and if that person is trying to access those services, then proper mechanism needs to be there, so that all these things can be tracked. Now we'll move towards and we'll look into the key factors for security in the cloud. So first very important factor is identity and access management. So whenever it comes to the identity and access management, or we call it as IAM as well. So number of users getting created and access given to them, or let's say number of IAM roles are getting created where we give those accesses to some third party, or to EC2 instances, or to Lambda functions. So these are the important factors which needs to be carefully designed and monitored. And whatever access are given to certain entity, whether it's a role, whether it's a user, needs to be audited on continuous basis. So there are with AWS there are things like there are services which will be able to give you so there's a service called as access analyzer, where you can analyze all the access. If some user have access to, let's say, RDS service, but that user haven't used or haven't accessed that service in last 30 days, so there should be a proper mechanism where that access should be revoked for that particular user, and as and when if it is required in the future, then again we can grant that kind of access to that user. So detective controls should be there in place. If something happens into the cloud environment, into the AWS environment, then detective control should be there, where if anything is happening, anything looks like malicious, then that needs to be alerted, and proper actions against that particular event needs to be taken. Then when we talk about infrastructure security, then when we talk about infrastructure security, then whether EC2 instances or images which are there onto the cloud. So needs architects, or the engineers who are using those images or those particular EC2 instances should have, or the security team of the organization needs to have proper plan to harden the images, or if there are existing instances, then proper malware detection, antivirus, and log monitoring solutions should be there in place, so that thing happens on top of the infrastructure can be automatically detected, and can be mitigated before the major damage has been done to that account. When we talk about data protection, so as we are aware now, GDPR is there, where it mostly talk about the privacy and data protection. So when we talk about data protection onto the AWS environment, there should be a significant strategies where the access mechanism and what kind the encryption at rest, encryption in transit should be handled in a proper way, so that data onto the cloud environment needs to be protected. So always when it comes to the data protection, or when it comes to the identity and access management, or rather when it comes to all the things wherever access and access to data or resources comes into the picture, then zero trust policy should be there, so that whatever access is given to a certain entity, it can be a user, or it can be a role, or it can be an application. So that entity should regularly evaluated, and proper actions should be taken if those are not matching to the organizational policies. So threat detection and continuous monitoring. So when we talk about threat detection, so there are logs coming across the services, across the applications which are hosted onto the cloud. So all those threats needs to be detected and continuously monitored. So strategies around that should be there. Incident response strategies should also be there. We'll talk more about that in next upcoming slides. And compliance and data privacy that we already have discussed around. Now we'll go to the next slide, and we'll discuss about security services in the AWS. So when we talk about the authentication part, then AWS have certain set of services where it will help you to set up proper authentication mechanism. So where identity and access management comes into the picture, then AWS resource access manager comes into the picture, which will help you to share access to your AWS resources to some other AWS account, or entities from some other AWS account. Then AWS organization comes into the picture, where you can set up the organizational policies and push them down to all the child account which is a part of that organization. When we talk about authentication, then Amazon Cognito, which handles the authentic authentication part into the AWS native applications or to the external applications as well. When it comes to the single sign-on, if you have Active Directory or if you have some, if you want to implement SSO with your cloud environment or with your AWS environment, then AWS SSO will come to help you in that kind of scenario. Then Amazon Directory Service will also come to help you when it comes to integrating Active Directories which are hosted on-prem or to some other cloud platform. AWS Amazon Directory Services service can come to help you in that kind of scenario. So when we talk about protected stores, so we were talking about privacy, data privacy, and data protection all. So when we talk about the protected stores, then Amazon Cloud HSM, AWS Cloud HSM comes into the picture, where you will be getting a HSM hardware security module device installed or will be in place, provided by AWS for you, where you can store your all encryption keys and all. If you want to, if you want dedicated key store onto the AWS environment, when it comes to the share, if you are okay with hosting your or storing your keys onto the shared environment, then you can use AWS KMS service, where you can store your encryption keys onto the KMS, and where you can set up the rotation policies and all other stuffs which will bring ease where maintaining the encryption keys. When it comes to the server management, then service manager will comes into the picture, where it will help you to patch your instances and to continuously monitor them. And there's a service called as AWS Secrets Manager, where it gives you the mechanism where you can store all your secrets, whether it is credentials to access the environment, or credentials to access the database, or API keys for the third party applications or APIs that you are using with the application. So you can leverage the secrets manager. So when it comes to the visibility, then if you when it comes to the compliance and security, so compliance and security of the cloud, you guys are aware of the shared responsibility model, where security and compliance of the cloud is the responsibility of Amazon Web Services, but security and compliance in the cloud is the responsibility of the customer who is consuming services provided by Amazon Web Services. Most of the services provided by Amazon Web Services are compliant as per the different regulators. So if you want to get that document or get that certificate from that particular regulator, which says that this particular service in this region is compliant as per the guidelines that they have, so you can use AWS Artifact, which gives you those documents under the NDA. Then there's a service called as Security Hub, which will help you to understand how you are maintaining compliance and security in the cloud. So it has a certain set of best practices against which it will continuously check whether whatever assets that are hosted on the AWS environment are following those guidelines or not. And if not, it will flag that, and then on top of that, you can automate the entire process, where it can that finding can automatically remediated onto the AWS. So when we talk about the enforcement, then there are services like Guard Duty, there are services like Macy, then WAF and Shield. So we'll talk about these services one by one. So when we talk about the Guard Duty, so Amazon Guard Duty is a service which will consume events or logs which are getting generated by CloudTrail, which is an audit, which maintains audit of all the actions or all the API calls or whatever things that you do on the AWS will be tracked and by the CloudTrail. When we talk about VPC flow logs, VPC flow logs is also part of the guard duty. So VPC flow logs are the VPC is basically our virtual network, and whatever logs generated in whatever traffic is getting in and out to your virtual network will be monitored under the VPC flow logs, and the DNS logs, which is a DNS service of AWS, which is Route 53. So all these three logs will be monitored by the Amazon Guard Duty, and they have their machine learning algorithms through which they'll correlate the data. And if some malicious activity is detected through the Guard Duty, so alerts can be generated, and further actions can be automated using the Guard Duty. So when we talk about the inspector, then security of your virtual boxes is also important. So when it comes to that, then inspector will take care of it. It will go as an agent onto your virtual machines, whether it is any of the OS. If it is using, it will install agent on top of that particular VM, and it will that agent will continuously run and monitor whether best practices given by different regulators like CIS and all is monitored or not, is maintained or not. If it is not, it will quickly raise an alert, and further actions can be taken right after that alert is getting received. Then there's a service called as Macy. So Amazon Macy is a service which will sit on top of the S3 buckets, and which will continuously analyze where any PII information or any sensitive information like social security numbers or card numbers or contact numbers or any PII related information, PII information is stored onto the S3 bucket or not. It will continuously analyze it, and as and when it finds that kind of information, then it will raise a flag, and we can set up an alert and alert mechanism on top of that. Then when it comes to the web applications, so AWS have a service called as AWS WAF, Web Application Firewall, where you can leverage that service, and whether you can import rules from the different vendors which are available on AWS Marketplace. And then using those rules, you can set up a firewall in front of your application. So that you can do. Then when it comes to the DDoS attack, then AWS Shield will come to help you to mitigate or to handle those kind of attacks. So with AWS Shield, basically there are two versions of it. One is standard and the other one is professional. So advanced. So when it comes to the standard, it is by default enabled in AWS accounts. But when it comes to the additional features, where if you want dedicated team of the engineers who will be working for you, if and when there is a DDoS attack onto the environment, then you can go with the advanced tier of the Shield, which will add up some cost. With by paying some cost, you will be able to get that kind of service. So these are the services which you to build the entire architecture and get visibility into the entire AWS environment. Now we'll talk more about
sorry to interrupt, Abhijeet. You will have 2 more minutes before we go to our second speaker. Okay?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll quickly wrap it up. So yes. So it's a wide section when it comes to the cloud security. It's going to take some time. So when it comes to the strategizing the architecture, so we'll quickly have a look into it, and then we'll move to the next slides. So strategizing it, the prevention mechanism should be there, then detection should be there, And after the detection, there should be a mechanism where all the threats, whatever things are getting detected, will be getting responded. And after responding to those threats, then remediation strategies should also be there. So I'll just quickly run through the introduction of the product that currently I'm leading. So, introduction to the Cloudlytics. So, Cloudlytics is a security monitoring platform. It's a SaaS-based security monitoring platform for the public cloud environment, and currently it supports the security monitoring for both AWS as well as the Azure environment, where it will continuously monitor your environment, and it will give you compliance report across the regulators. It will also check whether your account is following a well architected framework or not. It will also help you to analyze events coming across different cloud services as well as your applications, and it will give you complete visibility into your cloud environment, where you can see how many resources are there, and how they are performing. Is there any security challenge, or is there any loophole? Is there any compliance related challenges with those assets? You can get the complete visibility through the Cloudlytics. So yes, Mo, I think we are good for the getting Q&A. If you have any. Mo, I think you are on mute. We are not able to hear you.
Oh, okay. That's that one. Thanks for letting me know. I was saying thank you for the talk, man. It was a really interesting topic. Lately, I was working a lot with compliance as well. I don't think we have any question on YouTube Live, but for people who will watch this later, if you have any question, you can reach Abhijeet on LinkedIn, and I'm pretty sure he will be happy to answer you, right?
Sure.
Thank you so much, Abhijeet. Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we jump to our second speaker, we have two hiring announcements from a company called eCloud Valley. They are looking for an AWS cloud engineer and AWS cloud developer. So we will post this hiring announcement on our Facebook user group on Facebook and on our group on LinkedIn, which Kaushik just recently created. And if you want to reach to them, you can just reach them through the email. And if you are hiring for your team, you can just scan this QR code and fill up the form, and we will share it with the community in our next meetup. So it's a very simple: scan the code and put what you are hiring for. And of course, oh, okay, I thought we are. Okay, so we are jumping to a very interesting guy which I met last 3 weeks ago, maybe. He's from AWS. He's a solution architect. I really had a good chat with him last time, and he gave us some tips on improving our user group and how to make our community bigger. So let me introduce you to Fawad. So Fawad will share with us what's happening in AWS lately for maybe 5 to 7 minutes. So I will pass it to you, Fawad, from here.
Thank you, Mo. Thanks a lot. Hi everyone. Good evening. I'm Fawad, as Mo introduced me. I'm a senior solutions architect here in AWS Malaysia, and I mostly work with the telco industry. So that's where I'm helping them out. So yeah, just like Mo mentioned, I have 5 to 7 minutes, so I have to keep it quick. So this particular segment, we thought of bringing something like, what's new, any new releases or solutions or services that recently AWS has launched. Of course, there's a huge list, but what I've done is I just filter it out and just brought in for today one of the interesting ones that I find it really interesting. So just bear with me. So before I start, that particular new release that I'll probably be going into, and I'll probably show you a demo as well, that's part of the AWS Solutions Library. Now, if you're not aware of this particular resource that we have on AWS, these are solutions that have already been vetted by AWS architects, and something that you can reuse in your developments. Like, for example, there are 3 different types of solutions which are available here. Like AWS Solutions Constructs, those are some of the small integrations that probably you want to do, like you want to integrate cloud events, CloudWatch events with SQS. So how to do it, some sample codes, some of the libraries that you can actually use. So some of the things that can actually help you build such integrations. As an addition, like there's solutions which are complete architecture, which are available in form of cloud permission templates, which are infrastructure as code. So you can actually just take those templates and just deploy it in your account, and the whole solution is there. And then we also have solutions which are vetted with our competency partners as well. So any partner solutions that you may be looking for, just go over this library, see if there's anything that you were looking for, and just get it implemented. That's the help that we have for our developers here. So what I've done today, I've actually picked up one of the recent released AWS solutions, which is called AWS Perspective. And this is added into the solutions list where it's a complete solution here, and the whole cloud permission is available. So what this AWS Perspective really is, right? So a lot of times we actually draw architectures first and then provision the resources in AWS and create an application, right? And a lot of times it happens that you start configuring more services into AWS, you configure tags, you configure EC2 instances, you create more S3 buckets, and eventually your architecture diagram is quite behind, right? So what this service really does, this solution really does, is it actually provisions in architecture in your account, and then it keeps track of those changes. And then you can actually recreate your architectures by getting the live data that you have in your AWS accounts, and actually it creates a pictorial view of your architecture so that you can actually see what exactly is happening in your account. You could actually go to the integrations as well. You could go to more details as well, and you could expand services. Like you want to see what this Lambda is integrated with, what EC2 instances are probably calling it, what tags does it have, what roles are actually being used by this Lambda, right? So as simple as that, it's a solution, a group of components, an architecture, which is available as a cloud permission template. And this is something that you can deploy. And what do you use it for? You just want to create architectures based on what's running in your account today. Okay, so going into a bit of more details. So this is the page. When you actually go to the solutions, you will see this deployment guide. And this is the whole architecture that is deployed with this cloud permission template. So I won't actually go into too much detail because I have very limited time here, but all the details are already on the solutions page. So some of the interesting bits of this architecture, the first that you see is a web UI component, which is actually built in React. And it actually gives you a web UI interface where you can see your architectures, which I will just show you in a bit, because I actually deployed this cloud permission template in my account. And then we have the data components. Like one of the interesting bits here is Amazon Neptune, which is a graph database. So if you guys know what graph database really is, it's for the data which is related to each other. Things where relationships between the entities is important. So this is where our architecture components are related to each other. That's what the integrations we want to see and build the whole architecture. So Neptune is the right database for this job. And then we also have cost components, sort of architectural components here, which actually bring you the cost of those architectural components as well, which I'll just show you shortly. So in one architecture diagram, you see where I'm integrated, which other services I'm integrated, and also I can see the cost which I'm paying for those components as well. So without any further delay, what I want to do is, what I did was I just went into the deployment guide, and I downloaded this cloud permission template and ran this in my account, and it just created all of this architecture. But just remember, when you do this, because there's different services involved, there will be cost that you may incur. So on average, if an organization deploys this for a whole month, it may cost around like $500 approximately. So just do keep that in mind as well. So let me just go to my demo. So what happens is when you run this cloud permission templates, eventually you get a CloudFront URL, which you can just go and that's where your web UI exists, right? So for example, this is where it actually brought all the resources which are running in my account, 1,368. And what I'm just going to quickly do is I would just want to see all the Lambdas that I have in my account. So let's see. Let me just click here. We see Lambdas, and these are all the Lambdas which are running in my account. And then if I want to really go inside and see, hey, what else is this Lambda integrated with? So let's see if it shows me something here. Okay, so this Lambda, there's quite a few other components that it's integrated. For example, you have environment, show me all those linked environment variables. Then there are tags here as well. And there's a cloud formation template that actually created this Lambda. So similarly, I go like, for example, I can clear this diagram and just show you one more example. And then probably my time will be over anyways by that time. So for example, I go to all resources and look for, I just want to see a load balancer and see what else is integrated with this load balancer. So let me just put one of these sample load balancers that I created and see what diagram it creates for me. So see, there's quite a lot of integrated components that I have. And also you see here the dollar values. I actually created this yesterday, so you might not see any value here, but see $1.21 for this load balancer. So I can actually see the cost of each component as well, right? So this is what I really wanted to show you, as well as an addition, you can actually export these diagrams. You can actually export these and actually, it will take you to the draw.io as well if you use that for drawing diagrams, and you can actually edit and customize and share with your teams as well. And there's other ways of exporting these as well. So with that, this is just a quick overview. And just remember, when you deploy it in one of your accounts, you can actually select the regions, select the different accounts that you want this solution to get access to create your architectures. So this is what I wanted to show you today. So before ending, sorry, I know Mo, you're here. I know I'm over time, but just quickly, there's a AWS Summit online coming in, which is on 29th of September on Tuesday. Register it. There's quite a lot of sessions that's going to happen, and a lot of enablement sessions that you'll see around migration, app modernizations, analytics, containers, DevOps. So just go on and register for it. It's a pretty interesting agenda. Just look for the interesting topics that you may wanted to learn. So yeah, that's it from my side. Thanks, Mo.
Thank you so much, Fawad. I'm really excited for this new service. The perspective looks like it will be a main tool for any solution architect in the future. So I want to give it a try soon, hopefully. Thank you so much, Fawad. And I will bring you back for a full session, man. We need to have you with a full talk for 40 minutes. See you around, man.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks. So Kaushik helped us this time to bring some free stuff for our community from a company called Creately. So Creately, right? Yeah. So it's a website where you can draw flowcharts, diagrams, mind map, and more. So basically, you need to subscribe, but we will get you a 3 months free. So you can just get this code, scan the QR code, and you will get it. And we will post this as well on our user group on Facebook. So if you want to get this code later. And of course, we are always looking for some speakers for our community. So if you want to share your experience and the cool stuff you are building with your team or alone, you can scan this QR code, fill up the form, and we will reach you for our next meetup or maybe the next one. And now we are gonna jump to our second speaker. I'm very happy to have Viki. Viki is a solution architect at Maxis, and Viki has a very interesting title. It's called Innovation with Imagination, Solving Real-World Business Problem with AWS Tech. I'm really looking forward to hear what you have to say about this title. So I will give it to you from here, Viki, and good luck.
All right, thank you, Mo. Thank you. All right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Viki, and I'm from Maxis, and I'm just gonna jump right in because I think we have another half an hour or so. So yes, my name is Viki. I'm from Malaysia. I've been in the industry for about 15 years now, mainly in R&D and automation. Then I kind of majored into websites, e-commerce, and mobile apps. I love to explore new technologies. If you recognize the building at the back of the picture, you know the kind of geek I am. If it's broken, I'll probably try to fix it. A lot of DIY stuff. Love to scuba dive. And yeah, I've been working at Maxis for about 4 years now. So that's just a quick little introduction about me. All right, so Maxis, it's the leading converged solutions provider in Malaysia, according to our website. If you're a Maxis user, you would know we have postpaid, prepaid, fiber services. We have e-commerce solutions, enterprise solutions, and we're expanding into a lot of other services as well. So that's Maxis in Malaysia. Is an awesome place to work at. And place to work at. I work at the Digital COE, the Center of Excellence. We're based out in our that's just right beside KLCC. And there are about 50 of us in the team. And the guys and girls, they come from all over the world. Collectively, we speak about 20 different languages. So that's kind of cool to learn about all the different cultures and all that. And of course, different programming languages as well. So we have Android developers, iOS developers, the whole stack. Everyone's have different specialty. Right, so we work on all of the consumer apps Maxis owns, the enterprise apps, the websites, and the commerce portals. So anything to do with the websites or the portals, pretty much our team builds all the front end and all the engines. That's a little bit about the team. Okay. Just an example of one of the apps we have. We Hotline Red. If you're a prepaid user, you would probably use this app to buy pop-up check balance. It's one of the more popular apps. 40 million downloads, 5-figure daily active users. Quite some interesting stuff going on in there. We have personalized offers. We allow customers to buy passes, check balance, and all that. So these apps evolve very frequently, and that's what we get to work on. Now, what we've done so far on this app and all the other apps we own, we've done exercise like moving it from the on-premise solution to the cloud, breaking up the monolith architecture into microservice. The team has been adopting agile development methodology. We've gone into CI/CD, the whole scalability, the whole thing. So we've been venturing into that. We're growing, we're learning as we go. It's been great so far. But today, I thought I'll share something a little bit more different. I don't want to put too much diagrams and whatnot. I just want to keep it a little bit more lighter today. So I just want to talk about how we managed to get an AWS Sumerian to don a Maxis t-shirt and get featured on the Star newspaper or online paper. And also touch a little bit about this very cool Deep Racer Championship we hosted last year internally just for the staff. So 2 little fun little topics just to share with you guys. All right, so basically I'm touching on the innovative spirit among the folks at COE and how it began. So 4 years ago, I mean, as we were building the app, we decided to hook up the credit balance API to the Amazon Echo, which I have right here actually. So when you mention, Alexa, what's my credit balance? It's going to tell you what your credit balance is because we hooked it up to the API. So we took a little video of that, a fun little video, and we shared it across the organization. Before you know it, during one of our town halls, it was featured, and everybody loved it. And the engineers in the team immediately got that spark, the excitement to just create something new just for fun. And before you know it, we were building IoT stuff. We were controlling Lego houses. We had a little IoT showcase just using microchips we got at Jalan Pasar. We explored with chatbot technology, with Lex, with Poly. And we actually built and put together a little chatbot called Squiggy. And that's now live in our intranets for the employees to book meeting rooms, to check what's new in the company and whatnot. So the folks get to play with technology, we get to learn stuff, we get to try out new things, and if it works out, it goes into production. And that's kind of cool. That's the little innovative spirit we have. Now, speaking of the Sumerian earlier on that screenshot, basically, there was this project called Retail 3.0. It was a project to upgrade the retail centers, some of the bigger retail centers. So that project was going on, and my boss one day asked me if I'm interested to go have a look. So I said, okay, let's do something cool. And he said, okay, let's do some design thinking, right? And I asked him how long we have. He said 2 months. All right, do I have a team? And no, I don't have a team. So 2 months, no team. I got an intern in the end, but that's it. And we needed to come out with something cool, with something a little bit of tech edge, just to give customers a bit more excitement when they visit the stores. So, okay, let's do it. Let's figure it out. So we did the whole design thinking exercise. We got the group together. We got folks from all the other divisions in the company, and we kind of asked what the real problem was when customers would visit a retail center. So good suggestions came up. The wait time. You need a ticket to get a ticket. You need to line up to even get a ticket. It's boring. It's not fun. You don't really explore. So those were all the problems which popped up. So that was cool. Okay, we're getting somewhere. All right, that's fun. And then I was reading a bunch of blogs, and we came across the work backwards thing. It's a philosophy in AWS where you write a news article and then you work backwards with that. So it kind of gives you a vision of what you wish to develop in the end. So okay, we did this fun little article visiting the Maxis stuff. You can see on the screen. I'm not sure if it's visible, but basically it talks about what this new journey is going to be. So it's going to be a new ticketing system. So we thought how we could make the whole journey towards a retail center is to build a cool little ticket system. So you no longer take a paper ticket and wait for your number, but you scan a QR code, and that's it. And an SMS gets sent to you. You get to browse the store. You get to see how many people are in front of you, and when it's your turn, you get to see a picture of the staff who's going to serve you. So it's a very personalized approach, and customers get to discover our products. So that was kind of a vision, a digital queue system. That's what we wanted to build in 2 months, and no staff, no help, because everyone's on a project full time. So we kind of need to figure something out how we did it. So I got an intern and sketched this out, sketched the architecture out. So of course, what do we need to do to build this project, to build this digital queue? Now we'll need cloud resources. Okay, I've got an intern, by the way. The whole thing has to be secure. Of course, Maxis has its own cloud security protocols and standards. We need to, of course, create the database. We need to create the API. We need to come up with the specs, and then we need to integrate those APIs to the front end. We need to host the application on S3, publish it to Cloud Run, and secure the whole thing. And of course, we need someone to write the front end as well in Angular. Now, how do I do all these things in 2 months with an intern? That's where I saw AWS Amplify. AWS Amplify is this cool little technology from AWS. It's a framework which basically allows a front-end engineer to develop full stack very easily. Now, let's just go to an example. Right? So I gave you the 8 little items of which we had to develop. Simple command lines will do the trick. Amplify init will initialize all the cloud resources in your account. An auth CLI will spin up Cognito and give you all the rules of authentication. You can easily hook up to your company LDAP or whatnot. Amplify add API. All you have to do is define your table structure, what your table looks like. And it's going to spin up all the DynamoDB. It's going to spin up all the GraphQL API. And it's going to send the API specs to your front-end project, to your Angular project. So you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is write one command line, amplify add API, and that's it. And then amplify add hosting pushes the whole thing to S3, and publish just puts it on CloudFront. So just by a bunch of command lines, you get to spin all your resources, create full authentication, all the APIs, all the database. Your S3 is fully secured and all published on CloudFront. So now I just got one guy to work on the Angular project. So that was pretty cool. And that's it. So in 2 months, we just wrote our user story in Jira, started grooming them, and started doing the whole backend was done in under a week. And the rest was just integrating the front end and making sure that the logics are correct. So really, we got to focus on the application, while all the heavy lifting of the back was done by AWS. So that's very, very cool. And of course, we got to build the backend as well because we had all this time suddenly. So we built so the previous screen was what the customer would see. They would scan a QR code, they'll put in their name, they'll select why they're visiting the store, they get a ticket number. And then they get to see who's going to serve them. On the back, the staff will have their own dashboard. And in this dashboard, they can see how many customers are in line. We hooked it up to our SMS system, so we can send SMS. We can check if a customer is a VIP customer, so they can jump the queue. So we got to do all these tricks because we suddenly have all this time without having to worry about all the backend stuff. So that was a pretty cool thing. Now, we also decided to go a bit more crazy, and we did a few more interesting stuff. So all the demo phones in the store, we place sensors around. And as you walk by the phones, the boxes, as you can see, the price list would come up, would appear. So we built like a whole digital catalog, and they're hosted on all the demo devices. Now imagine if you're at the store and you have a ticket, you have your digital ticket. Now you can browse the stores, look at the phones, and if you're interested at this iPhone, for example, you can click on one of those buttons, and the interest will be captured into your queue. So when the customer service representative serves you, he will actually know that you were interested in the iPhone. So those kind of interactivity we put in together. And of course, just to make it a bit more interesting, we put a Sumerian host together, we put a camera up. So if you walk into the store and you want to scan the code, the Sumerian host will greet you and say hello, and she'll actually maintain eye contact if you notice. Just the face actually moves with you. Yeah. So that was a fun little thing we got to put like a week before going live. So this was done using Sumerian, Lex, Poly, and AWS recognition. All right, so that was Mira. We call it the Maxis Interactive Retail Assistant. So that was a success. It went live. It's in Mid-Valley Gardens, so you can experience this whole store in Gardens. It's in Sunway, and it's being rolled out to the rest of the stores around Malaysia. Very small footprint, very completely serverless. A very fun little project to do. So that was one. And next thing we got to play with was our town hall. So the tech team, the technology team in Maxis, we have town halls every quarter. So the boss asked me if you'd like to organize a town hall, and I said, okay, yeah, let's do this again. So the challenge was it had to involve everyone, and it has to involve a hackathon. Okay, so that's going to be challenging everyone in a hackathon, and it has to do something with the subject of artificial intelligence, just to expose everyone to this hot little trending topic. So I say, okay, let's see what AWS has. And perfect, it had the AWS deep racer. It would fit the whole thing. So I say, okay, let's do an AWS deep racer tournament and see what happens. Okay, we started brainstorming on how we could do this. So just to give you a bit introduction, AWS Deep Race, it's this RC car. It's a car. I don't have one right now. It's a RC car. Basically, you write a reward function, and basically what a reward function is, it rewards a car for behaving correctly. So if a car stays in the lane, you give it a point. If the car goes outside of the lane, you remove a point. So the car will go around the track as many times as possible in a simulated environment, and it will try to learn how to drive around the track by itself. So basically a fully autonomous self-driving car. And you get to write the part of the software that defines how a car can self-navigate. So that was cool. So we thought, okay, let's do this. We had a car back then. Now, what about the track? So in order for the car to go around, it needs a track. The track was pretty huge. This is a screenshot from one of the AWS events. It's pretty huge. It cost about 80,000 ringgit. We definitely needed to hire movers, and we needed a cargo bay, permit to enter the cargo bay, insurance, storage, all that. So I was like the builder in me saying, nah, let's just figure this out ourselves. So we went on to Lazada, and we got a bunch of gym mats, masking tape, measuring tape, and some string. And we started hacking away. So we put all the gym mats together, and we started measuring the track, and we started putting it down. And on the first prototype, the car actually moved. It kind of worked. So, okay, that was fun. All right, so it somewhat worked. And I said, okay, this is going to be interesting. So let's go full force. So we suddenly became organizers of a deep racer competition in the company. So we got a bunch of AWS folks to come over and give us briefing. We borrowed a bunch more cars because Murphy's Law, if I only had one car, it definitely would go wrong. So we got a bunch of backup cars, squeezed everything into my car, and we moved it on to the venue. So it was fun. So we got everyone together, about 200 people. There were 20 teams, and everyone participated. So everyone logged on to their AWS console, and they trained their cars for hours. It was like, I think there was about 20-hour simulation. Some of them went up all the way up to 20 hours of training and simulations. And we got one winner. All right. So the outcome of that was pretty cool. Everyone got exposed to a little bit of artificial intelligence. It's a very cool subject, and everyone's finding ways to incorporate it into the business. And everyone had lots and lots of fun. And the future is just all sorts of opportunities are there. So we're exploring new personalization technologies. We're expanding Sumerian using augmented reality, virtual reality for using Sumerian as well. We've already played with face recognition and text strat, and we're already exploring EKYC, and we're also building our own custom SageMaker models to detect reaction, to understand how certain things work. Pretty interesting stuff. So that's a little bit about me and the team and what we do here at Maxis. That's all I have. We are hiring, so we are looking for people as well. So if anyone's interested, do give us a holler. And go innovate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Viki. It looks like a lot of fun happening at Maxis, man. A lot of cool stuff. We don't
have. Best way to learn.
Yeah, exactly. I have a question actually regarding the amplifier, right? So how easy and fast was it for your team to adapt and getting used to Amplify? Like
it's really
the team was familiar with it, or you just like introduce it and they got like they start learning it and start building stuff on it?
Okay, so the story is this. So when we did Mira, Amplify was still pretty new. So from my experience with Mira, it was a bit hard because it was still not that stable back then. This was in April last year. So it was still trial and error for me. But recently, during the MCO and whatnot, so before the whole, the QR code you have to scan at every entrances, we kind of put our own as well in front of the building, of our building. And it took the fresh grads 2 hours to figure it out. The current documentation is really good. It jumps straight into demonstration, and it's really good. So our fresh grad picked it up in like under a week.
Oh,
just
cool.
by going through the documentation. Yeah, under a week, you already know what to do. And and the full proof of concept of scanning a QR code to gather your information and your temperature and save it on the database. He did the prototype in 2 hours. So that was pretty cool.
That's
using
awesome.
Amplify. Yeah.
Yeah. Another question for me as well regarding the debracer thing, right?
Yeah.
So you said it's only happening inside Maxis, so it's not for the public, right?
Oh yeah, so that one was a town hall thing just for us.
Okay.
We decided to play around.
Okay, maybe then I will reach you to do something with our user group for our community when
Let's
things
do
getting
it because
better.
the gym mats are lying around in the office. No one's using it. So.
Wow! So we can do a league, for the community. See,
why not?
Yeah. Then I will reach you about to discuss this more into details. Maybe not now after like things going back to normal, so people can attend.
For sure.
Thank you so much, Viki. I really enjoyed your talk,
All right.
man.
Cool.
Thank you. Much. Okay, so that's the end of our meetup. But before you guys go, we really need your feedback. So we have this form where you can share your feedback about this session. Even after you watch the video later on YouTube, you can just scan this QR code and fill up the form. Tell us what do you like about our meetup, what you don't like, what we can improve. So please don't forget to fill in your feedback. And do follow us on all social media. Facebook, our Facebook group getting bigger now. YouTube, we still don't have a lot of subscribers, but hopefully in the future. Meetup, our main platform for the meetups. And Kaushik recently created a LinkedIn group. So if you are not active on Facebook a lot, you can just join on LinkedIn as well. We will start to be active there. And we have our next meetup on 22nd of October. We have two amazing speakers. First, Mahbub, which is a DevOps specialist. We'll talk about EKS. And the second speaker is Abdullah from Service Rocket. Service Rocket is very famous about their DevOps culture thing. So he's a full stack developer, and he will talk about video on demand using AWS services. I really want to thank everyone who attend, and I want to thank Absalam, which is a lead cloud architect at Seek. You may know him as the team lead from iFlex before, and he's helping us a lot with this user group. And Kaushik is the director from Blaze Clan. He just recently joined our AWS user group community leader team, which is doing all this behind the scenes stuff, but you don't see him. Hopefully when we go on set, you will say thank you to these two amazing people. And the last one, of course, Gauhar. She's a full stack developer with Rapid River. She's doing all the design for our user group, the banners and everything you can see here. That's it for today, and hopefully I'm gonna see you on 22nd of October. Thank you so much, and take care.